Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever felt like you are constantly giving, constantly pleasing, constantly saying yes, even when every part of you wants to say no? Have you ever smiled when you didn't feel like it, agreed just to avoid conflict, or apologized for things that weren't your fault? If so, then today I have a message for you. Stop being a nice girl. Because let me tell you something. Being nice will not make people respect you. It will not protect you from pain, disappointment, or betrayal. In fact, being nice is exactly why so many women feel unheard, unappreciated, and invisible. But today that ends. Today you reclaim your voice, your power, and your worth. Being overly nice often means suppressing your voice, needs, and boundaries just to please others. From a young age, many women are conditioned to believe that being agreeable, soft-spoken, and accommodating is a virtue. Society teaches them that their worth is tied to how well they cater to others, how effortlessly they fit into expectations, and how little trouble they cause. But what does this actually lead to? It creates a cycle where women silence their own thoughts, dismiss their own desires, and allow themselves to be treated as an afterthought. Niceness, when rooted in fear rather than genuine kindness, becomes a cage. A woman who always says yes to avoid conflict eventually forgets that she even has the right to say no. She becomes the one who stays late at work without recognition, who listens to others but is never heard herself, who is there for everyone but feels alone when she needs someone. She is the one who compromises her happiness, thinking that if she just gives a little more, people will value her. But in reality, people do not respect what is always available, what never pushes back, and what does not demand to be seen. There is a difference between kindness and self-betrayal. Being kind is a strength, but being nice at the cost of your own identity is not. The moment a woman believes that her value comes from making others comfortable, she starts erasing herself. She becomes hesitant to express her true thoughts, worried that she might be judged. She avoids asking for what she deserves, fearing that she will be seen as difficult. She smiles even when she feels disrespected, thinking that staying silent is the better option. But what happens when you continuously swallow your words, suppress your emotions, and prioritize everyone but yourself? You begin to fade into the background of your own life. Women who are too nice often find themselves being taken for granted. They are the ones people assume will always say yes, who will always adjust, who will always be understanding. And because they never set boundaries, people continue to push them further. The more they give, the more is expected from them, and the cycle never ends. They put their own needs on hold, believing that someday someone will notice their sacrifices. But waiting for validation is like waiting for rain in a drought. It never comes when you need it the most. This pattern is not just exhausting, it is damaging. It leads to resentment, frustration, and even a loss of self-worth. A woman who has spent years being nice may wake up one day and realize that she has become a stranger to herself. She no longer knows what she truly wants because she has spent too much time focusing on what others want from her. She struggles to make decisions for herself because she has been conditioned to seek approval before taking action. She feels drained, but she cannot pinpoint why, because she has given pieces of herself away for so long that she has nothing left. Niceness should never come at the cost of self-respect. There is nothing wrong with being considerate, empathetic, or understanding, but when those qualities turn into self-sacrifice, they become harmful. It is not a woman's job to make the world comfortable at her own expense. She is not obligated to agree with everything, to tolerate mistreatment, or to be available at all times. She has the right to say no without guilt, to stand her ground without hesitation, and to take up space without apology. When a woman starts valuing herself beyond how useful or agreeable she is to others, everything changes. She begins to realize that her voice matters, that her opinions are valid, and that her needs are just as important as anyone else's. She stops feeling guilty for setting boundaries and starts recognizing that the right people will respect them. She no longer measures her worth by how much she can give, but by how true she is to herself. There is no reward for being the woman who never says no, who never asks for more, who never demands respect. The world does not hand out medals for self-sacrifice. In fact, the more a woman accommodates, the more people expect from her. If she does not set limits, others will not set them for her. If she does not speak up, no one will magically read her mind and offer her what she deserves. Respect is not given to those who stay silent. It is given to those who assert themselves. with confidence and clarity. The illusion of niceness is that it guarantees acceptance, love, and approval. But the truth is, it often leads to invisibility. People do not admire those who agree with everything. They admire those who have the courage to stand up for themselves. A woman who knows her worth, who is unafraid to challenge unfairness, and who prioritizes her own well-being, commands a different level of respect. She does not need to beg for validation because she carries the confidence of someone who values herself. Women must learn to break free from the fear that being anything other than nice makes them undesirable or unlikable. Strength, honesty, and self-respect will take a woman further than endless politeness ever will. The moment she stops living for approval and starts living for herself, she will see that she was never meant to be small, quiet, or accommodating. She was meant to be bold, powerful, and unapologetically herself. Women are often taught that being agreeable, accommodating, and pleasant is the key to acceptance and success. From childhood, they hear phrases like, be nice, don't be too demanding, or good girls don't make trouble. The problem with this conditioning is that it subtly trains women to believe that their value is tied to how much they can please others. They begin to associate self-worth with approval, mistaking external validation for personal fulfillment. This pattern continues into adulthood, where they find themselves overextending, over-apologizing, and over-compromising, often at their own expense. When a woman is too nice, she often ignores the discomfort that comes with always prioritizing others. She makes excuses for people who disrespect her, assuming that if she just tries harder, they will change. She tolerates relationships that drain her energy because she believes that love and friendship require sacrifice. She stays silent in situations where she should speak up, fearing that asserting herself will make her seem difficult or unlikable. But in doing so, she is not practicing kindness. She is practicing self-neglect. Women who are conditioned to be nice often struggle with boundaries. They say yes to things they don't want to do because they don't want to disappoint anyone. They avoid confrontation even when something deeply bothers them. They stay in toxic situations, convincing themselves that they are being patient, understanding, or mature, but in reality, they are just suppressing their own needs. A woman who never establishes limits teaches others that she will always be available, always flexible, always willing to put herself last. And once people see that she does not enforce boundaries, they take advantage of it, sometimes consciously, sometimes unconsciously. A woman who never asserts herself becomes easy to overlook. In workplaces, she might be the one who works the hardest but is never recognized. In friendships, she might be the one who always listens but is never heard. In relationships, she might be the one who gives endlessly but never feels truly appreciated. This is not because she lacks value, but because she has allowed herself to become secondary in her own life. She has made her presence so accommodating that others stop seeing her as someone who needs to be respected in return. This pattern of over-niceness does not just lead to frustration, it leads to deep emotional exhaustion. A woman who constantly suppresses her true feelings, desires, and opinions eventually starts to feel lost. She wonders why she is always the one adjusting, always the one putting in the effort, always the one giving more than she receives. She begins to feel invisible, as if her presence does not truly matter. But the reality is that she has spent so much time trying to be who the world expects her to be that she has forgotten who she really is. Niceness should never be confused with kindness. Kindness comes from strength, while niceness, when driven by fear of rejection, comes from insecurity. A kind woman can be compassionate while still being firm. She can care for others while still caring for herself. She can say no without guilt, without apology, and without hesitation. She understands that her worth is not determined by how much she can give, but by how much she respects herself. A nice woman, on the other hand, often feels trapped by the need to be liked. She avoids saying what she truly thinks, even when she has something valuable to contribute. She lets people take more than they should, thinking that if she just keeps giving, they will eventually reciprocate. She lets opportunities pass her by because she doesn't want to seem pushy, aggressive, or demanding. There is nothing wrong with being polite, respectful, and understanding. But when these traits are taken to an extreme, they become a barrier to success, happiness, and self-respect. A woman who constantly shrinks herself to accommodate others will never be truly seen. A woman who never prioritizes her own well-being will always feel drained. And a woman who never speaks her truth will always feel unheard. Breaking free from this cycle requires a mindset shift. It requires recognizing that a woman's value does not come from how agreeable she is, but from how confidently she stands in her own truth. It requires unlearning years of conditioning that taught her to be small, soft, and self-sacrificing. It requires understanding that the right people will respect her boundaries, and those who do not were never meant to be in her life. It requires realizing that she does not have to be liked by everyone, she only has to be respected by herself. There is a difference between being nice and being respected. Women are often taught that the key to success, love, and happiness is to be agreeable, to avoid confrontation, and to always consider the feelings of others before their own. This mindset, while seemingly harmless, becomes a burden that forces many women into a life of self-sacrifice. The reality is that constantly prioritizing the comfort of others over your own needs does not lead to respect. It leads to invisibility. When a woman is too nice, she teaches the world that her feelings, desires, and ambitions are secondary. In workplaces, women who are too nice often struggle to be taken seriously. They hesitate to speak up in meetings because they fear they will come across as aggressive. They avoid negotiating for better salaries because they do not want to seem demanding. They take on extra work without complaint, thinking that their dedication will be recognized, only to watch their more assertive colleagues move ahead while they remain stuck in the background. Being nice does not guarantee fairness. It does not ensure appreciation. More often than not, it results in being overlooked and undervalued. In relationships, being too nice can be just as harmful. Women who have been conditioned to avoid conflict often find themselves in one-sided relationships where they're always the ones compromising. They excuse bad behavior, thinking that if they just love harder, stay patient longer, or remain understanding, things will change. But relationships should never be built on the idea that one person must constantly shrink themselves to keep the peace. A relationship where one person is always giving while the other is always taking is not a partnership. It is emotional exhaustion disguised as love. Nice girls often struggle with saying no. They feel guilty when they turn down requests, even when those requests are unreasonable. They allow people to borrow their time, energy, and emotional labor without setting boundaries. They fear that if they stand up for themselves, they will be seen as rude, ungrateful, or difficult. But the truth is, saying no is one of the most powerful things a woman can do. It is a declaration of self-worth. It is a reminder to herself and to the world that her time and energy are valuable. A woman who cannot say no will always find herself drained, overextended, and taken for granted. Women are often taught that their kindness is their greatest asset. But kindness should never come at the cost of self-respect. True kindness is not about making yourself small to keep others comfortable. It is not about saying yes when you want to say no. It is not about tolerating disrespect just to maintain harmony. Kindness should never mean allowing others to mistreat you. A woman can be kind and still set firm boundaries. She can be compassionate while refusing to accept less than she deserves. She can care for others without neglecting herself in the process. When a woman stops being too nice, something incredible happens. She gains power. She becomes someone who is no longer afraid to voice her opinions, to take up space, or to demand what she deserves. She stops apologizing for her presence, her strength, and her ambition. She no longer feels the need to seek approval from those who do not appreciate her. She learns that self-respect is more important than being liked. She realizes that the people who truly value her will respect her boundaries, and those who do not were never meant to be in her life. Breaking free from the nice girl mentality is not about becoming rude, harsh, or unkind. It is about recognizing that being overly accommodating does not lead to happiness, it leads to resentment. It is about understanding that being assertive does not make you difficult, it makes you strong. It is about knowing that your voice matters, your needs are important, and your worth is not determined by how much you can please others. A woman who refuses to be just nice transforms her entire life. She stops tolerating situations that drain her. She surrounds herself with people who uplift and respect her. She chases her dreams without hesitation. She stops being afraid of rejection because she knows that she would rather be alone than be surrounded by those who only value her for what she can do for them. She steps into her power, and in doing so, she commands the respect that she has always deserved. Women are often expected to be the peacemakers, the nurturers, the ones who smooth over conflicts and keep everyone happy. From a young age, they are taught that being nice is a virtue, that it is their responsibility to make others comfortable, even at the expense of their own well-being. They are told to be polite, to be accommodating, to smile even when they don't feel like it. But what no one tells them is that constantly being nice can become a prison. When a woman places the comfort of others above her own needs, she begins to lose herself. The problem with being the nice girl is that it often means putting other people's feelings first while neglecting your own. It means biting your tongue when you want to speak up. It means saying yes when every part of you is screaming no. It means allowing others to cross your boundaries because you don't want to seem rude or unkind. But true kindness does not require self-sacrifice. It does not mean making yourself small so that others can feel big. It does not mean suppressing your own voice so that others can be comfortable. There comes a moment in every woman's life when she realizes that being nice is not enough. She realizes that no matter how much she gives, some people will never appreciate her. No matter how much she sacrifices, some people will still take her for granted. No matter how understanding she is, there will always be those who mistake her kindness for weakness. And in that moment, she faces a choice. Continue being the nice girl who is overlooked, undervalued, and exhausted, or become the woman who refuses to be taken for granted. A woman who stops being too nice does not become cold-hearted. She becomes strong. She stops apologizing for her opinions, for her ambitions, for taking up space. She stops saying yes to things that drain her energy and starts prioritizing her own needs. She stops trying to be liked by everyone and focuses on being respected. Respect does not come from being endlessly accommodating. It comes from setting boundaries and standing firm in them. It comes from knowing your worth and refusing to accept anything less than you deserve. When a woman stops being too nice, she changes the way she interacts with the world. In the workplace, she no longer allows herself to be overlooked. She speaks up in meetings without fearing how others will perceive her. She demands fair pay, fair treatment, and recognition for her hard work. She no longer stays silent to avoid conflict because she understands that her voice matters. She no longer takes on extra responsibilities just to prove herself because she knows that overworking does not guarantee appreciation. She refuses to be the woman who is expected to do everything but gets credit for nothing. In relationships, she no longer tolerates one-sided efforts. She no longer stays in friendships where she is always the listener but never the one heard. She no longer makes excuses for partners who do not meet her halfway. She no longer gives endless chances to people who have shown her time and time again that they do not value her. She stops waiting for people to change and starts walking away from those who do not treat her with the respect she deserves. She no longer believes that love means sacrificing her own happiness for someone else's comfort. And a woman who stops being too nice also stops feeling guilty for putting herself first. She understands that self-care is not selfish, it is necessary. She prioritizes her mental and emotional well-being. She takes time for herself without feeling the need to justify it. She makes choices that align with her happiness rather than choices that please others. She learns that taking care of herself allows her to show up as her best self in every area of her life. The shift from being a nice girl to being a strong woman is not easy. It requires unlearning years of conditioning. It requires facing the discomfort of disappointing others. It requires standing up for yourself, even when it feels unfamiliar. It requires letting go of the fear of being judged or misunderstood. But the reward is a life of authenticity, freedom, and self-respect. A woman who is no longer bound by the need to be nice is a woman who finally lives on her own terms. Women are often told that being nice is their greatest strength, that kindness will open doors for them, that the world will reward them for their selflessness. From an early age, they are taught to be agreeable, to avoid making others uncomfortable, to put the needs of those around them before their own. They are told to be patient, to be understanding, to always smile, and to never make a fuss. But what happens when a woman spends her entire life being nice at the expense of her own happiness? What happens when she realizes that no matter how much she gives, it is never enough? Being too nice comes with a cost. It means constantly suppressing your thoughts to avoid conflict. It means keeping quiet when you want to speak up. It means tolerating disrespect because you don't want to seem rude. It means allowing others to take advantage of your kindness because you don't want to appear selfish. The world does not always reward niceness. It often exploits it. The more you give, the more people expect. The more you accommodate, the more they take. And before you realize it, you become a version of yourself that exists only to serve others, while your own dreams, desires, and needs fade into the background. A woman who is too nice often finds herself stuck in situations that drain her. In friendships, she is the one who always listens, always supports, always gives. She is the one who is there for everyone, but when she needs someone, she finds herself alone. She is the one who makes sacrifices, who rearranges her plans, who puts her own needs aside to accommodate others, and yet she is the one who is most often taken for granted. In romantic relationships, she's the one who compromises, who forgives, who stays longer than she should. She ignores red flags, believing that if she just loves a little harder, things will get better. She gives second, third, and fourth chances, even when it is clear that she deserves better. She convinces herself that her role is to understand, to be patient, to fix, even when it is breaking her in the process. In the workplace, a nice woman is expected to take on extra tasks without complaining. She is expected to be the one who smooths over conflicts, who keeps the team together, who works hard without demanding recognition. She is expected to be pleasant, to be accommodating, to make things easier for everyone else. But while she is busy making sure everyone else is comfortable, her own ambitions are pushed aside. She watches as those who are more assertive move ahead, while she remains stuck, unnoticed, undervalued, and overworked. The moment a woman realizes that being nice does not guarantee respect is the moment she takes back her power. She understands that her worth is not measured by how much she can give to others at the expense of herself. She stops living for the approval of others and starts living for herself. She recognizes that setting boundaries is not mean, it is necessary. She realizes that saying no does not make her selfish, it makes her strong. She begins to prioritize her own well-being without feeling guilty. A woman who stops being too nice learns that it is okay to walk away from situations that no longer serve her. She understands that she is not obligated to maintain friendships that drain her, relationships that do not fulfill her, or jobs that do not appreciate her. She stops chasing people who do not value her and instead surrounds herself with those who respect her. She no longer waits for others to recognize her worth. She recognizes it herself. There is a difference between kindness and self-sacrifice. Kindness is choosing to treat others with respect, but it does not mean tolerating disrespect. Kindness is showing compassion, but it does not mean allowing others to take advantage of you. Kindness is about being a good person, but it does not mean neglecting yourself in the process. A woman who understands this becomes unstoppable. She becomes someone who is no longer afraid to stand up for herself, to demand what she deserves, to take up space unapologetically. She stops shrinking herself to fit into the expectations of others and starts living boldly, freely, and without fear. Often taught that being nice is their greatest strength, they are raised to believe that kindness will earn them love, respect, and success. They are told to be patient, to be soft-spoken, to avoid confrontation, and to always put others before themselves. They are conditioned to believe that their worth is tied to how much they can accommodate others, how much they can sacrifice, and how much they can endure without complaint. But what happens when being nice is not enough? What happens when the very thing they were taught to embrace becomes the thing that holds them back? Being too nice comes with an invisible cost. It means constantly prioritizing the needs of others while neglecting your own. It means saying yes to things you do not want to do because you fear disappointing people. It means tolerating behaviors that make you uncomfortable because you do not want to seem rude. It means constantly giving even when you're exhausted because you believe that is what is expected of you. The world often mistakes niceness for weakness, and those who are too nice find themselves being taken advantage of, overlooked, and undervalued. A woman who is too nice often finds herself carrying emotional burdens that are not hers to bear. She is the one who always listens, who always supports, who always makes room for others. She is the one who apologizes first, even when she has done nothing wrong. She is the one who forgives easily, even when she is the one who has been hurt. She is the one who puts in the effort to maintain relationships, even when the other person does not reciprocate. She is the one who compromises, who adjusts, who makes herself smaller so that others can be comfortable. But at what cost? She loses herself in the process. She forgets that she too deserves the same kindness she gives to others. In friendships, a nice woman is the one who is always available, always understanding, always patient. She listens when her friends need her, but when she needs someone, she finds that no one is there. She gives endlessly, yet she is the one who is most often taken for granted. In romantic relationships, she is the one who loves deeply, who forgives easily, who holds on longer than she should. She ignores red flags, makes excuses for bad behavior, and convinces herself that if she just tries a little harder, things will change. But no matter how much she gives, it is never enough. She begins to realize that love is not about sacrifice alone. Love should not require her to give up parts of herself just to be worthy of it. In the workplace, a nice woman is the one who takes on extra work without complaint. She is the one who helps others, who stays late, who works hard but never demands recognition. She is the one who avoids conflict, who does not challenge unfair treatment, who smiles even when she is frustrated. But she watches as those who speak up for themselves get ahead, while she is left behind, unnoticed and underappreciated. She realizes that being competent is not enough if she is not willing to advocate for herself. She sees that being a team player does not mean allowing others to take advantage of her time and effort. She learns that success is not about being liked, it is about being respected. There comes a moment in every woman's life when she realizes that being too nice is not serving her. It is draining her. It is limiting her. It is preventing her from stepping into her full potential. She begins to understand that she does not have to be everything for everyone. She does not have to say yes when she wants to say no. She does not have to tolerate disrespect just to maintain peace. She does not have to silence herself to make others comfortable. She does not have to keep proving her worth by overextending herself. The woman who stops being too nice does not become cold or unkind. She becomes strong. She starts setting boundaries without guilt. She starts saying no without explaining herself. She starts prioritizing her own needs without feeling selfish. She starts surrounding herself with people who value her, not just for what she can offer, but for who she is. She learns that self-respect is more important than being liked. She discovers that her voice matters, that her needs are valid, that her happiness is just as important as anyone else's. She realizes that true kindness starts with being kind to herself.